The NBA offseason has never been more important for the Houston Rockets than right here, right now. This young roster is not ready to compete for a championship quite yet. And the question now is, will they ever be able to compete for a championship with the way that they're constructed right now? Asking guys like Jalen Green, who's 23 years old, to step up and be a superstar caliber player and transition this team into a perennial finals contender is not necessarily something that's realistic. You can say guys like Alperen Sengun is going to be a perennial all-star, and while that may be true, look at some of these other young rosters that have won championships over the last few seasons, specifically the Boston Celtics. It took them 7 years with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to finally get through all of it. The Eastern Conference Finals, losing in the finals to the Warriors, and then getting all the way back to win in 2023-2024. That is extremely hard to do, and it's not something that I see with a duo like Green and Sengun. Yes, they're very good players and young, albeit with tons of potential, but to ask them to transition to become really high caliber stars and even low caliber superstars, it's unrealistic for the majority of NBA rosters. So I'm going to give the Rockets their most ideal offseason to transition this team from a young, budding, star caliber team to a championship contender. So for starters, Fred VanVleet is on a $44 million team option. If I'm the Rockets, I'm declining that, and my eyes are set on free agency. I will get to that in just a little bit. But VanVleet, $44 million is a lot of money. The Rockets signed him to a front-heavy deal with this team option on the back end to kind of have him as a vet that can transition the Rockets from a team that finishes near the bottom of the league to a team that can now make the playoffs and maybe even compete. Yes, they did lose to the Warriors in the first round, but the Warriors had to take him to 7. The Rockets are kind of there. It's unclear whether or not they'll be able to continue to win if they don't make these moves, but I do think that Jalen Green, Sengun, Jabari Smith Jr., Tari Eason, Cam Whitmore, all these guys are going to continue to get better. But VanVleet is a win-now type player, and I don't think that he's quote-unquote worth $44 million when you look at some of the other stars in this league that are going to be in free agency or in a potential trade. And that's what I'm transitioning to. You got to trade for Kevin Durant. And this is the perfect trade to do that, to one, continue to free up space for a potential star in free agency, and two, not offload the young stars that I've been talking about. So this is the trade that I think the Rockets can do with the Phoenix Suns. Reed Shepherd, Dillon Brooks are going to be the 2 players packaged in this deal. And then you pair that with the number 10 pick in this year's draft, the 2027 Phoenix pick that you own, and you send that to Phoenix. So Reed Shepherd is a young player that has star potential. He did not get a lot of time here on this Rockets roster, but for obvious reasons. There's tons of other young players that need minutes, and Shepherd just fell to the bottom of the barrel. Dillon Brooks, yes, is not necessarily a win-now player, nor is he a young star, but he's a guy that you have to move in this deal to continue to free up space for a second star in free agency. I think Phoenix would take this deal. The number 10 pick in this draft is a great one. This draft is stacked with talent, and you could find a real starter for years to come at number 10, even potential all-star caliber play at number 10. So that is a really good pick. And then trading Kevin Durant means you probably won't be good in the next few seasons. So getting back your own 2027 pick, that's great because it has no protections, no swap rights. That's a perfect pick for Phoenix to get back. Looking at what they gave up for Durant, they're never going to get that back in a trade just because Durant now is approaching 38 years old and has had a significant injury history throughout his career. So there's no guarantee that Phoenix will get more than a really good young player in Reed Shepherd, 2 premium first-round picks, and Dillon Brooks. I think that's a fair trade for solely Kevin Durant. So now this is what the roster looks like. You've got Jalen Green, Amin Thompson, Kevin Durant. You got Tari Eason, Alperen Sengun, Jabari Smith Jr., Cam Whitmore. So you still have Durant mixed with a bunch of young players. But what you're lacking now is a facilitator, a point guard caliber type guy that can not only distribute the ball, but still score. And I think you know where I'm going with this. A veteran player who is yet to push for the finals, but is a finals caliber player, a former MVP with the Houston Rockets, James Harden, might be a free agent in the offseason. He has a 1-year player option. I think he'll be looking for more security, so he will probably decline that option and head into unrestricted free agency. He had a $33 million deal and a $35 million player option with the Los Angeles Clippers. I think trading Brooks, Shepherd, and releasing or declining the team option of Fred VanVleet gives the Rockets around $38 to $39 million to play with, even after the Kevin Durant trade. And who better to sign and bring back to H-Town than James Harden? Now, they didn't want to do this deal, I think, either last year or the year before when Harden was a free agent, but it was because the Rockets' young players weren't ready to compete for a championship, and now they are. Are they ready to do it on their own? Absolutely not. They need help. And Kevin Durant and James Harden, multiple time former teammates, guys who say that they're friends, they're going to be great. They're going to be superstar caliber players still. Are they going to average 29 points, 10 assists, 8 rebounds? No. But if James Harden can average 17 points a game, 7 assists, and Kevin Durant can average his 23 to 24 a night, Jalen Greenstone can still get his 15. Jabari Smith and Sengun can still contribute 13, 14 points, some rebounds. This is a Houston Rockets team that can compete for a championship next season. Look at the rest of the West. The Minnesota Timberwolves have fallen extremely short. The Oklahoma City Thunder, yes, had a dominant regular season, but they struggled in the playoffs, getting taken to 7 games by the Denver Nuggets, who, by the way, lost their top 10 NBA head coach in Mike Malone. I mean, the Lakers, they're not getting any better with LeBron James being a year older. Yeah, they've got Luka, but this team is far from competing for a championship. The Houston Rockets have an opportunity to take what is there for the taking, and that is a potential chance to go to the Western Conference Finals, to play against the OKC Thunder, and go to the finals. This is the team to do it. Get Kevin Durant in a trade. Don't give up the house for him. You got to be smart about it. I think Reed Shepherd, 2 first-round picks, 2 premium first-round picks, and Dylan Brooks is enough to get Durant there, considering his age and injury history. And then sign a guy like James Harden, somebody that can facilitate the ball. And this has been the problem with Harden. He puts up these gaudy regular season numbers because he has to put the team on his back to get them to the playoffs. And then once he's in the playoffs, he falls short because he's quite literally exhausted. That's not going to happen this year because you have Amin Thompson, Jalen Green. You got Jabari Smith Jr. and Cam Whitmore, Tari Eason, Alperen Sengun. All of these young guys can play high minutes and continue to develop in the regular season. And then when playoff time comes around, Harden can turn the engine on one last time. Durant can turn his engine on one last time. And the Rockets can make a run at the NBA Finals. This is 100% the offseason that the Rockets need to have. This team is never, ever going to win a championship unless they find a superstar player to either sign in free agency or trade for. Jalen Green is never going to be a first-team All-NBA type player. And no disrespect to him. He can be an all-star. He can average 23 points a game, 6 assists, and 6 rebounds. That's a great NBA career. But to try to make him somebody, or to try to expect him to be somebody like Anthony Edwards or Luka Doncic, it's too far-fetched. I feel the same way about Sengun. I think Sengun is a baby Jokic. but to expect him to grow into being a 3-time MVP Nikola Jokic, it's unrealistic. It's not a real thing. We don't see that from either of these players. The eye test doesn't show me that. But what does show me something is trading for Kevin Durant and signing James Harden, and having this young roster be commanded by 2 veterans, an NBA champion and an MVP, and push this team further into the playoffs. It's win now mode if you're the Houston Rockets. Let me know what you think of this offseason. Be sure to subscribe, like the video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.